Hello then, I hope you are doing well. In today's guide we will be going over every encounter within the Salvation's Edge raid as well as the locations of the hidden chests. This can be a very complicated raid, so I will do my best to simplify it as much as possible. Timestamps are in the description below. Starting off with the first encounter. The objective here is to create something called resonance using plates within the room. You then need to collect it and bank as much of it into the chest in the middle of the room before the final shape looming countdown finishes and wipes the team. So, to do this, you will all enter the main room. Once the doors around you close, you will pick up the resonance in the middle and bank it on the chest to start the encounter. Split yourselves up into 2 teams of 3 and wait for the doors to open. Once they open, 3 supplicants will rush you from each door, so kill them before splitting up and head inside with your group. There are 10 rooms in total as you can see on this map, 9 of which surround the center. Once both teams are inside the rooms, they will need to work together to clear out all the ads to open the doors for the opposite team and vice versa. Killing a Minotaur in your own room will spawn a Hydra for the other team. When the other team kills that Hydra, it will open the door for your team. Both teams will be doing this for each other. If a team clears out the room quicker than the other team, they will get additional ad spawns to deal with, so try to synchronize. Once your doors are open, progress to the next room and do the same thing. Kill the ads, kill the Minotaur or the Hydra, and then progress to the third room where you will have an overload. Usually only one team will have the overload, but if your teams are in sync, you may have one each. Doesn't matter who kills it as long as at least one of them dies. Killing the overload will open all the doors and it will spawn a Tormentor in the middle. All teams should then converge on the middle to kill this one Tormentor. You will notice there are plates inside the rooms with orange wires connecting them. Ignore them for now because I will explain that when we get to it. Some tips to help keep you alive. Make sure to exit the rooms because once the Tormentor dies, all doors will close, so you don't want to be left out. Also, don't stand in the doorways because the doors can kill you. You will also notice that the witness's hands keeps making triangles on the floor at a random guardian's last known position. Standing in it will kill you, so avoid them as best as you can. So once all the ads are dead and the Tormentor in the middle is killed, it is rinse and repeat. 2 doors will open, kill the supplicants, split into 2 teams, 1 in each room. Kill the Minotaur, then the Hydras, and then the Overload. Go back into the middle and kill the second Tormentor. Now when you go in for the second time, one of the teams will notice there are glowing plates and an open pillar in one of their rooms. You don't have to worry about it yet, but do keep an eye out for any plates that are glowing or any pillars that are open and make a mental check of where they are. Killing the Tormentor opened 1 pillar and 2 plates for one of the teams. Once the second Tormentor dies, all the doors will open and another set of plates will glow on the opposite side. This is where the teams now have to go back into the rooms they came from and find the 2 plates each that are glowing orange. 1 plate will be glowing with a pillar closed, so we shall call that one number 1. The other plate will have an open pillar next to it that shows a resonance. Your job is to find both plates. If you have only found 1 plate, then stand on the plate and step off it. This will send a pulse along the orange wires. Follow it and it will lead to the other plate in the chain. Once both plates are located, the next step is to begin making the resonance. You do this by sending that pulse back and forth between you and your partner on the other plate. This creates a resonance in your room for you to collect. But you have to do it correctly. So as an example, I will step onto my plate which will send a pulse towards my partner. The pulse will then hit the plate and a circle will appear on the top that quickly shrinks. My partner needs to step onto the plate after the pulse hits it and before the circle shrinks completely. Simply step on and off. This will send the pulse back to me where I will do the same. Wait for the pulse to hit and then step on afterwards and step off. If you step onto the plate too quickly or too late or you miss it entirely, the plates and the pillar will close. A subjugator will spawn, which means one of you or both of you have messed up. The subjugator will block the plates and needs to die for them to reopen, and again allowing you to ping pong the pulses back and forth. Each time you successfully bounce a pulse back, a pyramid will spawn in your room somewhere along the walls. On top of this, you will have constant ad spawns to deal with. Among them will be weavers that will try to pull you off the plate, so get rid of them as soon as possible. Now to prevent any failures, make sure to stand by the plate at all times. There will be ads, so lingering grenades and wave frame grenade launchers or the new rocket sidearm will make it easier to clear them out at once. Machine guns and rockets are also good to use. Either watch for the pulse heading to the plate or listen for a whirring sound that grows higher in pitch, which is like a countdown for you to step onto the plate before it ends. So here is a sequence to help you out. Step onto the plate and tell your partner it is heading towards them. Create a simple call out such as pulse or heading towards you to warn them. Your partner will watch the plate, and once the pulse hits it, they will step on. Once they do, they will go and collect 1 resonance and come back to stand by the plate. You will need to do the same. Wait for the pulse to hit, step on, call out, then go collect a resonance and come back. You will need to pulse the plates 3 times each to create 3 resonance triangles in your rooms for you to collect, but only 3 because if you pick up a 4th resonance you will die. In the meantime, the other 2 people, 1 player per team, are trying their best to help with the ad clears in both rooms for both teams. They too need to pick up resonance, except they will be picking it up from the middle of a room. This next part is where it will get more complicated because once the people on the plate have 3 resonance each, they need to close the sequence. You cannot leave it after getting your resonance because it will count as a failure and subjugators will spawn blocking you. So to close the sequence, the person with the open pillar after gathering their resonance needs to shoot the pillar and then step onto the plate after the pulse hits it. This will close the sequence. So to summarize, the first plate sends the pulse if needed to locate the other plate. Then the first plate sends the pulse to the pillar plate. Your partner sends it back. This is 1. You send another and they send it back. This is 2. You send a 3rd and they send it back. This is 3. You then send a 4th and you tell them this is the 4th pulse. This lets your partner know that they need to shoot the pillar, and as the 4th pulse hits the plate, they step on to close it. It is done. Make sure that all resonance is collected prior to closing both pillars, otherwise any that's left on the ground will disappear. The person who closed the pillar loses 1 resonance out of the 3 as a price to pay. Both teams will be doing this at the same time. Once both teams have closed their plates, you then all head to the middle to kill a subjugator there, which will then spawn the chest in the middle where you can bank your resonance. Just be aware that you cannot bank all at the same time. So gather around it and either go 1 by 1 or keep spamming the button to deposit it, but make sure to get rid of all of it. For 2 reasons. The first is because the more you deposit, the more time you get back onto the clock for the next round. The second is because the resonance has its own timer that once expires, kills you. Now you don't need to bank 3 resonance each, but it is good to have the amount to get yourself as much time as possible. So get rid of all of it and wait for the rooms to open again. Now it is rinse and repeat. You keep doing this until the box is full and the counter is complete. Some people are saying you need 40 and others say 45. Other people say you just need everyone to bank something. In our case, we had everyone banking something and they all had 2 to 3 resonance each, and it took us 3 times to bank. And that is how you complete this encounter. It is lengthy, but now that you know how to do the plates and how resonance works, it will be easier to do throughout the rest of the raid. So moving on to the second encounter. The objective here is to collect resonance and bank it on the middle like in the first encounter to remove the boss's shield, making it damageable. Killing the boss completes the encounter. Just like before, you will have the final shape looming countdown at the top of your screen. So split yourselves into 3 groups of 2. There is a plate sequence and a pillar on the left, middle and right sides of the arena. We will call the center of the map with the rectangle as the arena. To start the encounter, you need to destroy the blight in the middle. At that point, you will ad clear the sides of room you are on. Each side has 2 ad spawn points, so have 1 person cover each of those. The first set of ads will be a Take a Knight and 4 weavers. After clearing them, you will have another set spawn in along with a mini boss. On the left it will be a witch, the middle has a phalanx and the right side will be an ogre. Whilst killing them, 1 person on each side of a map will be chosen by receiving a buff called Call to Reckoning. 3 people will get this buff, and if you have this buff you will need to head over to the arena. You need to shoot the boss in the forehead a few times to get some damage numbers. Whilst in the arena, be careful of where you stand. Every so often circles will appear, and after a while a horde of bees will attack that radius. Damaging the boss's head will spawn a blight somewhere on your side. They can be on the side of the arena closest to your area or in the sky above the area. Make sure that only the people with a Call to Reckoning buff are destroying these blights. Once all 3 players have destroyed their blights, they then head back to the arena, deal damage to the boss's head. This will change their Call to Reckoning buff into a Stolen Favor buff. The people who have a Stolen Favor buff need to stay by the plates closest to the arena where the pillars are, and I will explain why in just a moment. The other 3 go above the area where the other plate is. Just like before, the player at the top will step onto the plate and call out to the teammate. The person by the pillar plate steps on after the pulse hits the plate and sends it back. Again, you are doing this 3 times just like in the first encounter. Except this time you will have two types of resonance. The resonance will either look like a pyramid, just like in the first encounter, or it will be a sphere. The person with a stolen favor needs to look at their pillar, and the resonance in the middle will indicate what resonance you need to close the pillar with. So if it is a pyramid, then you need to make sure you have a pyramid when you close the pillar. However, you don't need to collect 3 of the same resonance. For example, if your pillar is telling you that you need to collect a pyramid, then you can collect 2 spheres and then a pyramid last. As long as the final shape that you collect matches the pillar, it will change your existing resonance to match it. So just like before, everyone needs to collect resonance to bank on the chest in the middle. Therefore, everyone needs to collect resonance that spawns around their plate, and remember to not collect any more than 3. So the sequence should go like this. The person at the top steps on the plate and calls out to the partner by the pillar. They then go and collect a resonance before making their way back to the plate. The partner by the pillar steps on after the pulse hits the plate and sends it back. As soon as that happens, they go collect the resonance before coming back to the plate. 1 done. You will do this 3 times. Once you have 3 each, the person at the top sends the 4th pulse. The person at the bottom shoots the pillar and steps onto the plate once the pulse hits the plate to close it, just like in the first encounter. Some tips on staying alive. If you shoot the pillar with the wrong resonance in your inventory, it is a wipe. So if you accidentally pick up the wrong one, check with your partner what they have in case they can close it for you. If you lose the buffs by dying, don't worry, because you can have someone else with stolen favor tell you what your pillar needs. If you fail the plates either by missing the pulse or stepping on too soon, your mini boss will respawn to block the plates and the pillar. The mini boss is based on what side you are on, so the witch is for the left, phalanx for middle, and ogre for right. Whilst your teammates are collecting the buffs in the arena and your side is cleared out, you can use the auto rifle called No Hesitations to help heal your teammates whilst the boss tries to kill them. On top of this, if you are the one chosen to close the pillar, try to pick up the wrong resonance first and then get the correct one in case there are only 2 correct ones. Additionally, anyone with a resonance buff can close a pillar, so ask your teammates to help in case you lose yours. Lastly, among the adds will be weavers, yet again, except this time they will be stasis and they throw very annoying dusk-fueled grenades that will freeze you. Lingering grenades and waveframe grenade launchers are great for taking them out in groups. Once all 3 plates are done, you then converge onto the arena to bang at the box at the back. Again, only one can bang at a time, so stand around it and mash the button. Make sure to bang all of it and then it is damage time. For damage, since the boss moves around so much, we used swords. Lament is good, but if you have any legendary swords with Relentless and Whirlwind or Bait and Switch, you can have one person running the exotic sword Ergo Sum with a perk Wolfpack rounds to give your sword sword Galahorn gives the legendary rockets to maximize your damage. The boss moves slowly enough to throw some grenades in there too for extra DPS. With this, we were able to two-face the boss even with some failed supers. Then it is rinse and repeat. So to summarize, go to your sides and clear the adds. 3 people get reckoning and they go to the middle to turn it into stolen favor by destroying blight so they can read the pillars. Create resonance using the plates and collect a piece of resonance each time you send a pulse. Make sure you have collected your resonance prior to closing the pillars, otherwise it will disappear. Close the pillar as the 4th pulse is heading towards you, step on the plate once it reaches you and bank your resonance at the box. Then damage the boss. When the boss reaches final stand, just keep damaging. Some ogres will spawn around you, so it is good to throw out some stasis turrets to deal with them, but otherwise, it isn't that necessary when you are using swords. Before we head on to the 3rd encounter, there is a hidden chest for you to collect. Once you reach the very top of the jumping puzzle with the columns of death, at the back corner of the area will be a little gap. Go through it to collect your first hidden chest. To get out of there, you jump up near the ceiling to go through a different gap. Now on to the 3rd encounter. The objective here is to create 3 different types of resonance to close the pillars like in the previous encounters. Yet again, you will then need to bank your resonance in the box to progress to the next area. You will do this 3 times. By now, you should know how the plates work. There are 3 chains of plates like in the 2nd encounter, left, middle, and right. The first plate always starts near the front of a room, whilst the plate with a pillar is closer to the back. So split into 3 groups of 2 and make sure you have an add clear weapon on. To start the encounter, you will pick up the resonance and bank on the chest. This will spawn 3 tormentors, 1 per side. Each team needs to kill their own tormentors, and whoever deals the final blow will receive a stolen favor buff. They will be responsible for reading the resonance on the pillars. If you want, you can lower the health and assign 1 person from each team to kill it, or just race to kill it and see who gets it. When the last of the tormentors die, Cabal turrets will spawn everywhere, so get rid of them first. Just like before, there will be constant ad spawns. This time there are 3 resonances. You have Pyramid, the Sphere, and the Cube. Again, everyone needs to try and collect 3 each. The people tasked with closing the pillars can collect whatever resonance they want as long as the last shape matches their pillars. The correct resonance doesn't spawn around the required pillar anymore. For example, if right side pillar needs a cube, it will likely spawn on the far left or in the middle. If the middle requires a pyramid, they will spawn far left or right. So coordinate with your team and ask for where your shapes are. This means that the people on the starting plates, when they need to collect their resonance, should leave some behind. For example, if you have 4 cubes around you, someone on a pillar will need at least one of them, so take 2 to 3 and leave the last one for them. Here is an effective strategy for this encounter. Because there are so many ads and you do have a decent amount of time, try to pulse the plates 3 to 4 times in total on each side to create the resonance, and then fail the plates on purpose. This will cause subjugators to spawn in, so kill them together. Once they are dead, you can run around for a bit, collect the resonance that you need, and once you are ready, start the plates again, except this time, close them. Same as before, starting plate sends a pulse and the person on the pillar plate shoots the pillar with the correct resonance that they collected. Once the pulse hits, step on a plate to close it. Make sure all 3 pillars are closed relatively close together to keep a synergy going. Once the final plate closes, another group of turrets spawn in, so take them out, otherwise they will kill you and you will lose your resonance. Once done, bank all the resonance into the box to get the maximum time of 3.5 minutes. Make your way to the back of the room where you will need to kill an unstop that will allow you to progress to the next floor. Just like in Caretaker in the Vow raid, there are 3 floors to this encounter where you do the exact same thing 3 times. Some tips to help keep you alive. Machine guns are great for killing the Tormentor's weak spots. If a Tormentor dives at you, remember they can punch it after it lands to prevent being knocked back. If you are struggling with subjugators, they are weak to the opposite type of damage that they are using. So if they use Strand, they are weak to Stasis, and if they use Stasis, they are weak to Strand. Make sure to space yourselves out and learn the positions of the turrets so you can get rid of them as soon as possible. Once you progress through the door to the second encounter, you will need to do everything again except with one change. The plates intertwine. So the starting plate on the left sends its pulse to the middle pillar plate, and the middle starting plate sends its pulse to the left pillar plate. The floor also now has some gaps, so be careful of where you stand. Just like before, kill the Tormentors, destroy the turrets. Send 3 sets of pulses and fail on purpose. Kill the subjugators and collect your resonance. Close the plates, kill the turrets again, and bank the resonance. Kill the unstop at the back and you'll proceed to the 3rd floor. Same thing yet again, except this time there are even more gaps in the floor and the plates intertwine even more. The starting plate on the left goes to the end plate in the middle. The starting plate in the middle goes to the end plate on the right. The starting plate on the right goes to the left end plate. The Tormentors also spawn in a group at the back, so be careful with who kills who. If one person accidentally kills 2 or all 3 of them, have them read out the pillars to everyone and write it down or memorize it. On to the 4th encounter, and the most mechanic heavy. The objective here is to use 2D shapes and create them into 3D shapes on the correct statues before the countdown wipes you. This time the countdown is called imminent end instead of final shape looming. I will do my best to simplify this as much as possible. There are 6 statues at the beginning of the encounter which resemble the 6 guardians in your fire team. At some point you will need to identify not only how your teammates look, but also what their ghosts look like. So make sure everyone has identifying features. As an example, we had one hunter with a hat, another one with a crown, one ghost had a ring around it, and another had a green Ares Morn mist around it. The shader does not matter, but the features do. Once done, your team will be split into 2 groups of 3. To start the encounter, you will need to activate one of the statues near the back. There will be 3 statues, and these statues will represent 3 guardians from your team. The statues alternate every couple of seconds. The 3 statues are the 3 people who will be teleported into another area. We are going to call the starting room the outside area for reference and the other area the inside rooms. One group will stay here doing a task which I will explain a little later. Meanwhile, the other 3 will get teleported into their own inside rooms, so each of them will be by themselves. They will have constant ad clear there, so make sure to have ad clear weapons. All 3 of them will have 3 statues in each of their rooms. Each of these statues resembles one of them and is holding a 2D shape, either a triangle, square, or circle. The first thing you need to do is read out the shapes left to right for the outside room. So in this example we have triangle, circle, and square. So to not forget, one of us wrote it in the in-game chat as TCS. I will explain what this means for the outside team later on. There are two ways of doing this encounter for the solo players on the inside rooms, and one of them is more consistent. So first I will explain what it is you are doing, followed by the strategy. The objective for the solo players here is for the symbols at the back of a room to be different from the shape that their own statue is holding. So in my case, my statue was holding a circle, so I need the shadow shapes on the back wall to represent a square and a triangle. Just think of it as opposite. Most of the time there will be duplicates. Every solo player out there will have the same or similar problems, so to fix this you need to swap the shapes until you have the correct ones. To do this, kill one of the yellow health bar knights out of the two amongst the adds. They will drop a shape onto the ground, and that shape will be one of the shadow shapes on the wall. So if the shapes on the wall are a square and a triangle, one knight will drop a square and the other will drop a triangle. You can pick one up and bank it on one of your teammates' statues. Whatever you do, do not pick up two of them, otherwise you will create a 3D shape, which I will explain later on. Your teammate might not have a circle, so they might say they need a circle. You might have a circle on your statue's hand and one on the ground, so pick the one on the ground up and bank it onto your teammate's statue that needs it. You might be missing a square, so you would ask, hey, does anyone have a square to spare? One of the teammates might have it and will say, yeah, I got that, I am sending it to you right now. Then they would pick it up and bank it on your statue in their room. This is one of the reasons you need to know what your teammates look like. Whilst this is happening, at any given point the witness will mess things up. All three people who were teleported to the outside rooms will at some point fake die. Your guardians will become the final shaped and your ghost will appear in the main inside room. One of the people on the inside will then need to collect the ghosts and bank them on the correct statues. If they bank the incorrect statue or use the wrong ghost, they will die. To get it done correctly, the 3 dead people spectate the person in charge of the ghosts. There are 6 statues and 3 of them will be missing people. The person in charge of the ghosts cannot see where the guardians are, so the people spectating need to tell them who they see and where. So label the statues from left to right from 1 to 6. The dead people will never see their own guardian, only one of the other 2. So one by one, say who you see and where. In this example, the person in charge found my green ghost and picked it up in the main room. My teammates said they could see my character on the last statue, so he banked the ghost there and revived me. He then went on to do the same for the other 2 people. Another reason why your character and ghost need to be recognizable. When you are revived, you go back into the inside rooms. Assuming you have all 3 shapes, the one on your statue's hand and the other 2 on the wall, you will be able to kill both knights and pick up both symbols at the same time to create a 3D symbol. This will allow you to exit a room behind you through the glass looking doors. However, there are a few problems. Sometimes you won't be allowed outside of a door if the inside team hasn't finished or if for some reason one of your teammates are missing a shape. So it is important to pass on the 2D shapes one at a time to each person. The other issue is the witness will fake death you at random. This can be annoying and will make you lose track of where you are. Also, for some reason, if you are still holding the original symbol that you started off with, it messes up the 3D shapes that you are using to exit the room with. So there is a solution in terms of a strategy. You can force the witness to fake death you early to get it out of the way. To do this, once you spawn into the outside rooms, you will send both your symbols to someone else. Coordinate with your teammates, kill the knights, pick up one symbol and one by one send each of your teammates a symbol one at a time. It doesn't matter if you are right, you're just getting rid of them. Once done, the witness will fake death you and you can revive with your ghosts as I explained earlier on. Make sure that as you are becoming the final shaped that you run to the glass doors to be as close to the middle of a room as possible. This will make it easier to get your ghosts in the main realm. Once all 3 of you are back in your rooms, you can now begin to sort your symbols out without any surprises. You will of course still have a DK timer at the top, but at least you aren't trying to rush. Work out who is missing symbols and accordingly, one at a time, pass the symbols to each other by banking the symbols on their statues. If the symbols are left on the ground for too long, they disappear. If both knights die, an ogre will spawn. Killing it will spawn 2 more knights, so don't worry if you lose a symbol. Once all 3 of you have one of each symbol, kill the knights, pick up both symbols which will create a 3D shape allowing you to leave the room. Now this won't happen unless the outside does their job correctly, so the main room will have 3 people, 2 ad clearers and 1 3D shape maker. One of the ad clearers will be in charge of sorting out the fake deaths when a witness messes around. The person in charge of making the 3D shapes needs to know what shapes the statues on the outside are holding. So within this example, my teammates told me that the inside symbols from left to right are CST. That tells me that the far left statue is holding a circle, and the middle is holding a square, and the far right is holding a triangle. The statues in the main room are holding 3D shapes that are wrong. You need to know what 2D shapes make what 3D shapes, so here is a template. As you can see, triangle plus triangle makes a D4 dice. Circle plus circle is a sphere, etc. These are the only 6 3D shapes you will see. The duplicates, so the D4, sphere, and cube, are wrong. The statues must not hold these. It must be one of the 3 on the right, so a cone, cylinder, or pyramid, and these shapes have to be on the correct statues. Okay, so let's put our teammates' combinations together. In this example, the outside statues held a cone on the left, a cube in the middle, and another cone on the right. If you cannot remember what 3D shapes makes what, refer to the template from earlier. We know that the middle has 3 squares, whilst the others do not have any squares. In order to correct it, we have to kill the knights who will drop the symbols. We have 3 knights. The left always drops circle, the middle always drops triangle, and the right always drops a square. When you pick up a shape and you go to the statue, you are dissecting the shape from the statue. Think of it as a key. So we want to move one of the squares from the middle, so we will have to kill the right side knight, pick up the square, and then extract it from the middle statue by taking it. The statue will then glow, which is the game showing you that it understands that you want to take the square from it. Now we also know the right side has 2 triangles and the middle has 0. So we are going to kill the middle knight and take the triangle shape, then go over to the right side statue and extract it like this. The 2 statues have now rotated their symbols. So 1 square from the middle went to the right and 1 triangle from the right went to the middle. The right side is now a cylinder. This is correct because the inside statue holds a triangle, and this one on the outside holds a cylinder which is made from a circle and a square. We have all 3 on the right. 1 done, 2 left. The middle now has been changed to a triangular prism, and the far left is still a cone. There are still 2 squares in the middle and 2 circles on the left. We ran out of knights unfortunately, so at this point kill all the ads and then 2 unstops will spawn in. Killing them will spawn in the next set of 3 knights. We have 2 circles left on the left and 2 squares in the middle, so we are going to swap these around. I killed the circle knight and took the symbol to the statue to extract the circle out of it. I then went to kill the square knight on the right and picked up that symbol to extract in the middle. This then changed the middle statue to hold a cone, which is made up from a circle and a triangle, whilst the inside statue is holding a square, so that is all 3. The left has a prism, which is made from a triangle and a square, whilst the inside statue has a circle. This means all 3 statues are correct, and the people on the inside who are teleported can kill their knights, pick up both of their symbols. When they pick up both of their symbols, the 3D shape they created will resemble the one I created on the statues here. As you can see, they're all escaping their rooms and joining us in the middle now. This is the final step in the process. Once everyone is outside, the final waves of ads will spawn, including 2 unstopped champs. Kill everything, and once everything dies, spread out around the statue area. 5 guardians will then be chosen at random to become fake death. Everyone will then spectate the survivor and tell them one by one which guardian is standing on which podium and what the ghosts look like. So as you can see in the footage, our teammate Mr. Corn was chosen. He picked up our teammate's ghost, Mr. Top, and asked where he was. One of us could see him at number 4 podium, so he stuck him there. My ghost was next, and another teammate said that I was at podium number 5. Before banking my ghost, I let them know that I could see our teammate Mr. 4 over at podium number 1. You do this before the wipe timer expires. Once done, you do this 2 more times. Unfortunately, this time you cannot choose who goes in as it starts randomly, so everyone needs to know the roles in both the inside and outside areas. Now it is time for the second hidden chest, which is found just before the boss area. Once you reach these large square platforms near the top, follow this path along the side into this little cubbyhole underneath the boss arena. This is the 5th and final encounter. The objective here is to mutilate the witness by destroying its arms and using a buff called Glyph Keeper to destroy buttons on its clothing, essentially stripping the witness down in preparation for damage. To begin the encounter, go far right or far left until the ads begin to spawn. You are going to split into 2 teams, 3 people left and 3 people right. 2 people on both sides will be ad clearing, whilst 1 person on both sides will be destroying the witness's hands. To destroy each hand, you will need to stand in the attack radius of a hand and shoot the wrist, which will reveal a color. The color corresponds to another hand which you need to collect another buff from by standing in its attack. Then you need to go back to the original hand, stand in its attack buff, and then shoot the wrist. So to better understand it, there are 3 types of hands. There is one that comes down from the sky which leaves a triangular attack on the ground that explodes after a while. Another hand comes from the ground which leaves a circle nearby. After a while that circle radius is bombarded with bees. The third hand comes from the side and deploys a long range beam attack, and standing in it for too long eventually kills you. Every one of these hands has its own color. This is a template showing you what color is tied to which attack. Here is an example of how to put this into practice. In this example, I decided to break the long arm. I stood in the buff and began shooting the wrist. Once the wrist breaks, wait a second to check what color it is. This is how you find out the hand's kryptonite. In this case it is green, which means I need to go to get the triangular buff. If it was yellow, I would stand in the circle buff. You stand in the required buff for around 2 seconds until your buff turns into the pyramidal or whatever buff you are trying to get. Then you need to go back to the original hand you went to and stand back in the buff. Again, you shoot the wrist and this time it will break. You now have a glyph keeper and you can break a button on the witness. However, if you break the button outside of a middle platform, you will keep the resonance you have collected. So go onto the middle platform, and if anyone else has acquired any resonance they do not want, they can join you there for when you break a button. This will bring you closer to the damage phase and cleanse you. Every time you break a button, a subjugator spawns in. The ads consist of strand weavers and scorned captains that will throw down protective shields, and finally, screebs. Machine guns really help to keep these ads in control. If you want, you can leave the subjugators alive since only 2 are allowed on at any given time, or kill them on sight. However, at some point you will see a message in the bottom left saying that the witness tests you, which will happen at random when you break an arm of the witness. What this means is the witness will spawn a group of crystals in front of him. You then have a limited amount of time to shoot the crystals to create a shape out of the remaining ones. The shape you need to create is based on the last arm that was destroyed. Here's a template showing which ones to destroy. So if you destroy the side arm, it will mean you need to create a square. Or if it is the sky arm, then it is a triangle, and if it is a ground arm, it is a circle. You are essentially trimming the crystals away to reveal the shape. If you have done this successfully, then the witness will do an attack that sucks in air, and just as it is about to release it across the arena, double jump up to avoid it. Otherwise, if you broke the wrong crystals, then it will prevent you from jumping and it will wipe the whole team. Once you have successfully broken all the buttons, it is damage time. You need to get onto the platform and begin dealing damage to the witness when its heart opens up. However, unlike any other damage phase, you will need to avoid its attacks. It has 3 types. If you are facing the witness, the right side hand will attack sideways, so move to the left. If it is the left side, then go to the right side. The third is when he will use both of his hands to do a wide attack across the whole arena, which you need to double jump to avoid. You can sidestep or double jump as singular hand attacks, but the main one is unavoidable unless you jump in time. Unfortunately, with mic delays and getting tunnel vision when scoping in, everyone will need to pay attention to these attacks. The Still Hunt sniper rifle was pretty good for this because you can fire 2 to 3 shots and then move. Linears wouldn't be too bad for this either. Every couple of shots, check the ground and the hands for the attacks. When you reach final stand, it is pretty much the same except the attacks are even faster, so you need to pay attention as to where you are standing. And there you have it, that is how you complete the Salvation's Edge raid. If you have found the guide to be helpful, then please like, share and post a comment. Don't forget to subscribe for more Destiny 2 guides. Thank you for watching and I'll see you next time.